It's like the pink ladies fighting the T-birds.
I know, it feels like something from West Side Story. Welcome to amorephillyunion, where chocolate cake beats pecan pie, but barely. We're your hosts. I'm E.
I'm C.
And I'm Paul. Yeah, it was a tight vote there.
Yeah, it was,
I mean, it was unanimous, but we were all very much
Yeah.
on the edge.
Christy's participating in some sort of dessert March Madness.
Yes.
And the final came down to chocolate cake and pecan pie, which I think we all saw that final coming up.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So when
Our own contestants.
yeah, right. So when that final came up, that was a clash of titans. But I think it was or unanimous. I think we all went with
We all want
chocolate
chocolate cake. Yeah.
Yep.
But it is by like photo
Yes.
finish
Exactly.
for sure.
100%. Yeah. Well, before we jump into our topics this week, a quick bit of just housekeeping numbers. Just we don't have an official Help the U challenge, but it is interesting to note that this month of March was our second most number of downloads in 1 month.
Right.
Awesome.
Pretty cool. We had that one fluke month last year, which yeah, that was a little bit of an anomaly, but this is a very strong month of listeners and downloads. So
Thanks everyone.
Yeah,
Yes. Thank you.
keep the listenings coming. We really appreciate it. All right, well, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
This is game 5. This is game 5, wasn't it?
Six.
Yes.
Game
Game
6.
6.
It was game 6. You're right. Yes.
Oh. Union at Miami into the Lions Den, I guess, or the Heron's
Flamingo's
Den.
Den.
Flamingo's nest. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
A heron's nest.
Well, I guess Leo, right? That's the same root as lion, I guess. I don't know. It is Leo's nest, that's for sure.
The house that Leo built. Let's put it that way.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah, so Union are down in Miami.
They did start off as Miami neat, as Messi did not start the game.
Yeah.
He's still recovering from his injury.
Yeah. I don't know. Where do you want to start? Maybe the lineups. That's a good one to start with.
Well, really quick before we get super into
Yeah.
it, I would just like to say that a group of flamingos is called a flamboyance.
Really?
According
For
to the
reals?
internet. Yeah, a flamboyance of flamingos.
That's funny and cool at the same time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's a good description.
I'll still take a murder of crows over that, but
Yeah.
flamboyance of flamingos is pretty good.
Yeah, if a murder of crows and got in a fight with a flamboyance of flamingos, who would win?
I don't know.
My money's on the crows driving them off.
It's like the pink ladies fighting the T-birds.
I know, it feels like something from West Side Story. Anyway, well, we're kind of really getting far afield here.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that went sideways fast because I clearly we're avoiding
yeah.
getting into it. Okay.
So let's just get to it. So okay.
Yeah.
Should we just pull the Band-Aid off and then we'll talk about the
do it.
details?
Do it.
So the Union, Miami. I'm not sure how to say this. Miami won 2-1, but it feels like, or did the Union lose 2-1? I feel like Miami won 2-1. There were a lot of things going on in this game, but it didn't feel like a complete, wasn't a total loss.
This felt like one of those things like when your dad said, is it your dad who says they didn't lose, they just I know it's someone else's phrase, but they didn't lose, they just ran out of time.
Yeah.
That's kind of what this
Could
felt
be.
like to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
I
mean,
think-
not to take anything away at all from
Mm-mm.
Miami, certainly. I mean,
you can if you want to.
Well, yeah.
You'll get no argument here.
We can get into that, but still, it felt like they would have had a chance. Really, this was one time I was hoping for like the egregious stoppage time. Anyway,
No, I agree as well. I do think that the Union were playing well, and it just didn't end up on the score sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had opportunities, they just couldn't put them away. And And I also think they made some adjustments during the game that were interesting. So
Well, I think even before the game, I think for me, at least one thing of note was no Wagner at all.
yeah,
Yeah.
Just
I was
not on the
surprised.
bench. Yeah.
So apparently, an abdominal injury. He left
Oof.
for practice early on Thursday, and he was uncertain at that time. And then I guess by the next day or so, I'm not sure exactly when, but he was ruled out. So no word on how long or what the injury is. I don't know that they'll even release that,
I
but
wonder
yeah,
if his treatment involves a hot water bottle and drinking some sort of herbal tea.
likely.
Kind of
Yeah.
wondering if he got that stomach bug that I had. And
Paul.
his abdominal injury is, vomiting. I'm not sure.
Because Paul, man, you're like you got an absolute six pack now after that rough week last week.
No, still got my beer ball.
Hey, I was setting up for the opportunity.
It's an audio medium. You can be whatever you want to be.
I'm not doing the truffle shuffle. All
What
right,
else?
can we talk lineups instead of,
Yeah, it's so Westfield Westfield was starting in the lineup again.
Yep, as the
Um,
left back this time.
yeah.
So that takes him up, I think, to 5 games, which means he only has one more before he has to get a legitimate
Contract.
union contract.
Wow.
Good for him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I think that's gonna happen. I don't
it's
see
got
why that
to.
wouldn't happen. Yeah.
I
And
mean,
in all honesty, he looked fine out there. Like
absolutely.
all 5 games that he's appeared in, he's looked
Yeah.
solid.
Even in this game, being in Miami, being on this field at the same time at Messi, um, he was hustling. Man, he had some nice behind the back plays. He's just very exciting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't bring as much on the offense side as Wagner, but he's also significantly younger than Wagner and has
Yeah,
time to learn how
yeah,
to contribute like a Jordi Alba and a
yeah.
Kai Wagner.
Wait, what
But
did you just say?
I said that on purpose. But yeah, he definitely he looked good there in that left back role. And I think that is his natural side, is the left side.
Mhm. Also of note, the trapezoid of death was also in effect with Baribo and Orr up front, and then Sullivan and Gazdag out in those corners. So,
Yep. And they had Lukic and Danley clogging up the midfield.
mm-hmm. And then the game got started. um,
Yeah.
it was, I mean, Miami was definitely, attacking right from the get-go, but I felt like the Union were also counter-punching, if you want to use the boxing analogy. I think most of my critiques today are going to be boxing analogy adjacent.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I was talking with someone today just about, going toe to toe, but the Union were throwing punches back, and so
Sure, why
I'm gonna
not?
go with the boxing metaphors.
Mix your metaphors. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Do it.
Fafa Pico, who plays for Miami, was playing like he had something to prove.
Yeah, you think.
And maybe not. I mean, I liked him when he was with the Union. I was sorry to see him leave he went to
Yeah, same.
Houston, right? And then I think he went to Houston first.
That
I'm not
sounds right.
I'm not
Yeah, he went
sure,
somewhere else first. Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't be Houston.
but so it's good seeing him playing hard out there. But yeah, he had a scoring opportunity right there at the get-go, like 5 minutes into the game. He had that header that
Oh, the
kind
left
of
upright.
yeah,
Oh my God, it was close.
yeah. I think he had Blake beat, and yeah, we were very lucky. It just went off the goalpost there.
What a reminder of how fast he is. My
He's
Oh
God.
my gosh. Yeah, it's impressive.
Christy,
Yeah.
what's his line again?
Slow feet don't eat.
There you go. And
Mhm.
I think he's obviously
Yeah, I don't
doing
think he has to
plenty of
worry.
eating. Yeah.
Mhm.
So Miami gets on the board first, the 23rd minute. I don't know. What you guys think about that goal? Yeah. What do you think? It was well
I
executed.
can't, was it in a transition mode or was
Yeah.
it that's what I kind of remember, both of their goals being transition kind of goals, where they just quickly get the control of the ball, get it upfield. In this case, it was Kromowski crossing it to the middle, and Taylor making a good run into space where no defender was, and powering it past Blake. Yeah, it felt like it was a little against the run of play. One of the things that, about this goal in particular, Taylor was dangerous all night. He actually set Fafa up with the cross that Fafa
Mhm.
put against the upright, and then Taylor made the run and ended up getting on the end. It was well worked goal,
Yeah, it was.
unfortunately.
And I think too, and I think this is through a lot of the game. I don't know if this is a tactic or a strategy that the Union are doing, but it just felt like, particularly with this goal, that they quickly uh, you know, turned the run of play, and they were immediately behind the Union defenders, and we were just chasing them,
Yeah,
like half step behind.
yeah.
And I felt like a lot of this game, the defensive line was playing pretty far up. I mean, even Glesnes was like in in Miami's 18 every once in a while. Um,
Yeah, there were a few times you were like, "Oh, that's glizzness.
you know,
What's happening?" Yeah.
he knows it's the second half, right? And we switch sides, right? Uh, but yeah, I felt like it was really Glesnes was playing really far, which is great. Um, but the big man doesn't necessarily have the speed to catch some of these, to catch a Pico.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I would agree, though. There were a number of uncomfortable moments where Miami either made a quick transition after they won the
Mhm.
ball back,
Right.
or there's some really cutting passes that,
mhm,
that found their way through the
yeah,
um, Union back line. And yeah, this first goal, it was what it was.
yeah.
Interestingly, it was 2 minutes after Kromowski um, got a yellow card for going into Gazdag, that
Mm-hmm.
Gazdag took particular offense to, because Kromowski slid into Gazdag. It was a late tackle. It was studs up. It went into his foot, ankle area, kind of lower ankle area, and Gazdag, pulls up the little guard over his ankle, and he's like showing, look, you can see the print of the guy's
Yeah.
cleats
Yeah,
on my leg.
yeah,
This should be a red card. You basically hear Gazdag saying, and then 2 minutes later, Kromowski makes the pass that Taylor finishes.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting, Christy and I, when we were watching this game, how Gazdag was, um, he was active on the field and stuff like that, but maybe this, colliding with other players, whatnot. But he and Suarez were getting into it a bit,
Mhm.
Love to see it.
and
Love to see it.
so to me, this was,
Lot of barking back
Mhm.
and forth,
yeah,
or yipping back and forth at each other.
and it was. I thought it was awesome how, I mean, I thought it was awesome how Gazdag was kind of running this little like this verbal argument they were having, because Suarez is being Suarez. You know, people have opinions about him. I definitely have opinions about the guy. He was being, in my opinion, just very, meh, 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 Suarez.
He didn't
Um,
bite anybody.
yeah, yeah,
Never let it down. Never
silver
let it down.
lining.
Never
No,
forget
no,
it.
you bite somebody on a
Yeah,
soccer field, much less at a World Cup. You're not
Yeah.
living that down.
yeah. You think
Yeah.
like Zidane is getting any breaks for headbutting Materazzi? He's
Honestly, I
still.
feel like he came out of that better than Suarez did.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, he
Yeah.
didn't bite the
He
guy.
didn't bite somebody. It's like, what are you, 5 years old? What are you
Yeah.
doing? Um, but anyway, just in this conflict between Suarez and Gazdag, Suarez was all, face was very angry and blah blah blah, and Gazdag was just smiling the whole time. It was just he absolutely had the upper hand in whatever mental battle of wits was going on here. So it's like, to me, this game was a Pyrrhic victory because we lost the game, but in the battle against Suarez, I think Gazdag took care of that.
Gazdag hates to get into a battle of wits with an unarmed man like that, but he wasn't about to let it go. I honestly thought Gazdag looked pretty frustrated in the first half.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Like, every time he got on the ball, somebody was kicking him in the legs.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And it seemed like Miami keyed on being extremely aggressive in
Yeah.
a lot of ways. And you know, in all honesty, the yellow cards bear that out. It ended up
Yeah,
being 6 yellows to 2.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if that's their natural state or if that's us bringing out the Philly and everyone again. But yeah, I was just looking at that. Oh.
Yeah.
Even Suarez got a late one.
Yeah, the three of
Yeah,
their
the Barcelona
most
trio
regarded
there.
members. Yeah, Suarez, Busquets, and Eric's favorite Jordi Alba all got
Jordi
cards.
Alba.
In stoppage, second half stoppage time, they all
Yep.
got them.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah, we almost got the complete Barcelona set. If only if Messi had gotten a card, we would have
Messi doesn't get a card. What are you talking about?
I say, I wonder if he's ever gotten a card, like
Yeah, I know.
in MLS.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's gotten a card, but
But first half, let's go back to talking about this
Yes,
first half. It definitely felt like a, you know, once again a messy kind of a game, a chippy kind of a game,
yeah.
a clogged midfield kind of a game. There wasn't
Mhm.
a lot of real good connections from either team, in all honesty. But it looked like both of them were trying to find ways to capture the ball back from the other team, you know, in the attacking half and trying to make something happen. I do know that we had a couple of looks, a couple from distance.
Yep.
But unfortunately, we forgot that there was a keeper in the way, and instead of shooting around him, shot at him a
Yeah.
couple of times.
yeah.
The Union did maintain and continued to generate lots of shots.
Absolutely.
How many total shots did they have in this one?
Let's pull
Do
it
you have
up.
that, Christy?
Yeah.
I want to say it was like 16.
19.
Okay. So, you know, they're
19
still
shots.
generating good number of shots, but they just failed to put them where they needed to, or a defender got in the way at the last second, at least in the first half.
And to me, this is one of the reasons why I feel like, Miami won this game 2-1. The Union didn't lose it 2-1, and that we were actively, trying to play soccer. Like we were not on the back foot. They caught us a couple times. They got behind us. Sure. So, kudos to Miami. They got those goals. They also have Messi. So that's like pretty much guaranteed one goal. But we had these shots. I mean, maybe they were a little anemic, or maybe they were directly on directly at the goalkeeper. But at least we were getting into position, and just literally that last micro adjustment wasn't where it was.
So, I mean, I don't have much else to say because I think the second half starts with Carnell trying to make that adjustment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it started the second half. Surprisingly, Lukic got pulled and Vasilev came in. And at the time I was wondering what the heck was going on, but in the post game, I think it was the post game press conference, or maybe he said it later, Carnell said that, he felt that the defense was doing a good job stopping Miami's attack from deep. So he wanted to get some more firepower in the midfield to try to help us find breaks in their defense. And that's why he put Vasilev in.
Yeah.
Still a little wondering why he pulled Lukic, who had been playing so well.
Yeah, right.
Instead of
Just
Danley.
long range shots.
Maybe he thought Danley was fresher. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. I almost would have pulled Danley and put in Indy.
Yep.
Not knocking Danley, but
which he did eventually do, but not
Mhm.
30 minutes more.
Yeah. And then I guess it was pretty soon. Was it 57th minute? Messi gets his obligatory goal.
Yeah, I mean, he came in at 55th minute and he scored in the 57th.
Yeah.
Now that was good play by Messi. Gotta give him his kudos there. I mean, he
no denying
he
it.
saw an opportunity. He jumped on. He stole the ball away from Gazdag. I mean, I think it was Gazdag that he basically
I think it might
knocked
have
to the
been
ground.
Baribo. Actually, I think they got it off of.
Was it?
I think it might have been Baribo. I'm not sure.
Okay, but either way, he muscled the ball away from the guy, knocked him to the ground, and started a quick odd man rush, and just was a clean, cool finish.
Yeah,
inside the box, cross the goal, far side, and neither the defender nor Blake could make a play on it or
Yeah.
make enough of a play to stop it.
That was Klavinovic who was covering him, right? I think Messi.
He was the one who got back. Yes.
Yeah. Which was interesting, right? Because they're both from the same club back in Argentina.
No, old boys or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
An old boy versus a not so old boy. And
Yeah. So yeah, 57-minute, they took the 2-0 lead, which, as we all have said multiple times, is the most dangerous lead in the in soccer. Although it
Mhm.
proved not to be in this case. But yeah, I mean, like looking at the it was interesting. At one part, they brought up momentum stats, which, as Nate pointed out, he's like, how do they measure that?
yeah, right.
But like throughout basically the back half of the first half and pretty much throughout the entire second half of the game, the momentum was with the Union.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
kept finding opportunities. We kept generating shots, just couldn't quite put anything away for quite a while until Sullivan kind of steps up, makes a little magic down the right-hand side at that point of the game and finds Gazdag in the center of the box and he powers it, kind of counter to the cross and gets it past the keeper finally to make it 2-1 in the 80th minute.
Well, it was kind of like a skosh similar to Miami's first goal in that, there was this cross to somebody who was just perfectly placed and they just had to, just get the ball into the back of the net.
Yeah, he did a good job with it. And then, of course, the Union pushed for that equalizing goal, but just wasn't there. Anything you want to bring up about the subs for the Union in particular? I mean, they did bring in Bruno Damiani in the 59th minute after they went down 2-0. We already talked
Donovan
about
came in for
Vasilev.
Baribo. Bueno came in for Jean-Jacques.
Yeah, it was good to see Bueno on the field.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I haven't seen Choo Choo yet this season, and it was good to see him get an opportunity to play.
Yeah.
Why
And
do
then
you think they took Breba out because he had a card? I'm not convinced of the Donovan.
I don't know.
Because, well, at that point we didn't have the first goal yet, but my thought would be if he's healthy and hadn't had a card, would they have left him in for the 90? Because I know,
I think you're probably right. I think
yeah,
with 15 minutes to go, fearing that Baribo might get desperate and may do something
yeah,
unwise. Yeah, I could see that being part of the consideration.
just because it's when you need that goal, I'm not, with all due respect, I'm not thinking Donovan over Baribo for that when you're trying to get that draw.
No.
So,
Yep.
But
that actually sounds like reason. It sounds reasonable. Yeah.
yeah.
It did feel like though Baribo was kind of ineffective in this game. I feel like Miami did a good job
Neutralizing him.
neutralizing him. Yeah. I mean, he had a couple attempts, but yeah, I was just
But that said, I would still, even with that, give him better odds than Donovan.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to beat up on Donovan, really not. But just that particular exchange seemed a little odd to me, except for the card part. Westfield bringing in Macania late in the game, I'm not sure if that was. I mean, it was really late, so
Yeah, it was in stoppage time.
yeah. So I'm not. I don't know if that was just give him a few minutes or something. I'm not.
I assume so. Just
Yeah.
kind of working Marcano not working him back into shape. I mean, he had to miss one game because of a red card. It's not that big a deal, but
Yeah, which he apparently spent most of his time trying to pick a fight with Messi, which was kind of funny.
oh, that's right. That's right.
Men in
that was-
Blazers had a good clip with that I actually did not catch during the match. I'm not sure if it was anything we could see or if it was from another vantage point, but interesting. But
I still would have loved it though if Marcano just kind of, as Messi bounces into him, and he gets pushed back by Messi, just go down on his knees and act like he's tying his shoe. So the next time Messi tries to back into him, he just tabletops himself.
Yeah.
It would have been amusing.
Oh, that's an interesting Heirloom? No, souvenir. Yeah, it'd be an interesting souvenir though. You could get, some people I'm sure are like, oh, I have this jersey, Messi signed it. Oh, I got this ball from Messi. But kind of be like, I got this black eye from Messi, and he signed it too. Just harder to sell on eBay later.
Yeah,
I
right.
signed weirder things.
I'm sure. Oh man. Um,
So, yeah, the Union ended up losing 2-1.
yeah.
Looks like they could have gotten something out of this, but they just
And
ran out
that's
of
the
time.
bright spot
Yeah,
to
I think it
me.
is.
Like, okay, so not to be an apologist here, but like it wasn't a drubbing. It
No.
wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't Keystone Cops. It wasn't I gotta find a new metaphor because I use that all the time, but it wasn't just this mess. It was a game in which they did not win, but
Yeah.
it wasn't this, yeah, destruction. So, which was good to see because that, it felt like they were more mortal than I had
Mm-hmm.
feared,
Yeah.
you know.
The boxing analogy I used describing this game was, look, it went down to the decision, and the judges, ruled in favor of Miami. Okay, sure, but Philly's standing in the ring while they're, announcing the judges' score, and Miami's there with a cut above their eye too, right? So yeah, they won the fight, but as you said, Christy, we did show that they're mortal, and honestly, like there were a couple scrambles in front of Miami's
Hmm.
net that
Yep.
you know just didn't go our way. To be fair, there were a
Hmm.
couple scrambles in front of our net that didn't go our
Absolutely.
way.
It could have
Um,
been worse.
and I was
Hmm.
happy for the one. It was near the end of the game, and Blake came way out,
Hmm.
way out, and
Hmm.
he's handling the ball right. He's like,
That was the second time in the game that he had to come that far out. And
dear
yeah.
Lord, yeah. And this, I think Fafa was the one pushing up on him, and it was a poor or ineffective clear, and Blake is just scrambling back to get into net, and Miami gets the ball to the center, and Suarez is right there, and I forget who was defending for the Union, but anyway, Suarez takes the shot, and I think it was deflected out, and to me, again, while we didn't win the game, that was a small victory as well.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but
And
yeah,
Quinn Sullivan got his 4th assist for the year.
yeah,
So he
Awesome.
now has as many assists as Wagner. I believe they're both either tied for first or up there for sure in the league stats
Yeah, they're
for
high
assists
ranking.
this year.
Yeah.
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 So there's definitely, I mean, the Union are proving dangerous.
yeah.
For where
So
we thought that we would be at this point in the season to where we are, I'm still not mad about it.
no,
Not at
That's
all.
fair. That's fair.
are you guys? How do
I
you
mean,
feel
when I
after
say when
that
I
game?
thought we'd be like before anything started, that's what not like before the season started, period. I'm sorry, Eric. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's actually like, so how do you feel after that loss? This is our first loss of this. No, this is our
No, it's
first
the
loss.
Second.
second.
Second loss of the season. But I don't know. What do you think? Are you
I mean,
nervous or?
no,
Mm-mm. No.
no. I mean, we're still 4-2. We're averaging, twice as many wins as losses. And uh, yeah, it was a good team at their place. It's going to
Mhm.
be a tough place to play. And the Union battled with them for 90 minutes. They
Yeah.
just came up short.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Not
only
a,
thing I'm nervous about is Wagner's condition, and that's,
Mm.
yeah.
I mean, I hopefully it was just something that needed a week or maybe a week or two, but
Yeah. Yeah. I was hoping for a positive result,
sure.
hindsight, I'm, would have been happy with the draw.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm not, I'm not worried,
Mhm.
it's,
And I did just confirm Sullivan and Wagner are in a 6-way tie for,
Mhm.
Okay.
for with 4 assists with other 6, well, total of 6 people in MLS,
Yeah.
including Suarez.
Yeah.
Alba has 3. So
Annie boo boo.
I'm still waiting for the news that the Union signed Jordi Alba. It's like, son of a,
That's gonna be your
excuse me while I cut myself a big piece of this pie that,
humble pie.
humble pie.
Yeah.
It's interesting you say that because I guess it was just after watching because we watched it on delay. We were not available to watch it on. No, we did watch it Saturday night, but just we still on delay.
Mm.
Regardless, I was just thinking about it. I was thinking I'm very grateful, with all respect, to not be a Miami fan,
Mm.
and because Messi will spend whatever the rest of his. I can't remember how long he's contracted to be there. I
Hmm.
assume he'll pack it up at that point, maybe, another year or something like that. But whenever he leaves,
Hmm.
where do you go from there?
Yeah.
Where do you go? Like, okay, so we have up years, we have down years, we have, whatever.
Hmm.
But but there's always, always next year, always something like that. Where do you go after you had Messi
Yeah.
and you're an MLS team?
Yeah.
I know other teams have had him and they've gone on to other things and whatever. But those are not Premier League, but European League, whatever teams. So where do you go? I mean, it seems like so much of the identity of the team is
Yeah.
Messi at
Yeah.
this point that I'm really actually this is one point where I'm grateful that we have a bunch of, and I'm using big air quotes you can't see, no names on our team.
Yeah.
Because I think I would kind of prefer that um
I mean, they have
to the
two choices.
alternative.
One, they try to build a team. They take the approach that Galaxy did after Beckham left and try to build a standard MLS roster, with sprinkle in, some high quality overseas people, but not necessarily the greatest of all time like Messi.
Mhm.
Or they double down on it and they go find the next 30,
Hmm.
32-year-old superstar from Europe that wants to get a payday and build a team around them.
Yeah.
And if Messi, Busquets, Alba, and Suarez all leave at the same time, and they bring in, Holland and a couple of other big names from Europe who are in that 30 to 32-year-old range in the next 2, 3 years, maybe they just double down and try to do it again. Those have been that is an option if the ownership is willing to put up the money to
Hmm.
do those transfers. If they have proven that they can generate enough in in merchandise sales and other rights that it's worth doing. Maybe that's something they consider. I don't know. No team has done that.
Right.
No team has tried that double down approach seen if it works.
I think is possible. I wasn't implying it wasn't possible to kind
Mhm.
of. I'm speaking from like a fan perspective again
Mm.
when I say this, but to come back from that, but I think it definitely will require a lot of like rebuilding is maybe not quite the word I want, but rebuilding time to
Almost
Yeah.
kind of get
rebranding.
back to that, rebranding.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like a soccer equivalent of peaking in high school.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So you
The
had this
cool,
big thing and you're always talking about when we had Messi, it was like this. So I mean, hopefully not. I'm not wishing that on anybody,
No.
but that just is it's just I think that will be an interesting thing to see what becomes of Miami whenever whenever his contract ends and he decides to do something else.
Miami's
So
theme song becomes "Glory Days" by Bruce Springsteen.
Exactly. Exactly. Well,
Well, let's be honest. There's no other player like Messi
yeah.
in the
right.
like, like,
Exactly.
like even Ronaldo. Those who would call out Ronaldo, as better than Messi or as good as Messi. Ronaldo's close to the same age as Messi. It's not like they're going to swap out Messi. Messi when he gets to the point where he doesn't want to be playing for Miami anymore, and Miami just turns around and goes picks up the next greatest player of all time. Because they just that's not the case right now. There's nobody that has the name draw that Messi does that they could go pay for and bring
Yeah.
in and make it worth their while.
And it is interesting. I think, Chrissy, it's a good point because I think there's a little bit of daylight between the Messi experiment and the David Beckham experiment because
Absolutely.
LA Galaxy was already a pretty big club in MLS. So like, you had your, you know, Donovan fans and your Kobe Jones fans and all these guys, right? And it was interesting. And I'm just going to make a shout out to the one team we agree on this week's podcast because Jillian and Kyle were actually down at this game. And actually, this my little plug for the week. Check out their podcast this week because they kind of share their story of being down there at the stadium and food trucks and portable toilets and all this stuff. So I would recommend checking it out. But Jillian makes a good point, and being in the stadium, you recognize that you realize that the majority of the jerseys you see in that stadium all have Messi on the back, and that is a big difference. You come to a Union game, you got your Bedoyas, you got your Blakes, you got
You'll
it's
even see
probably
throwback Gazdags and Latus,
exactly right. So there's this kind of a
or Gaddis and Latus. My apologies.
yeah. But so when Beckham came along to LA, I mean LA had won a bunch of they've already won MLS couple times. Landon Donovan, just they had a lot of big names already. Now Beckham, I know when he came to the team, I think he set a record, but they set a record for most jersey sales, at least to date. Then I gotta imagine Miami has beaten that when they brought in Messi.
I would imagine so.
But when Beckham left, there was still this mythos with respect to the club, right? They were still like,
They were still the Galaxy.
they were still the Galaxy and they still had their fan base. I feel like Miami's numbers swelled when when Messi joined the team. And so when Messi leaves the team, do those fans stay or do they go wherever Messi goes? I think that'll be an interesting, yeah, I mean,
I liked what Jillian said. That we hope that
yeah,
a good percentage of those fans
yeah,
enjoy watching the Miami
yeah,
team and want to stay Miami fans. But I would expect that a majority of them are going to go where Messi goes,
yeah,
and that they're going to see a drop off.
yeah. I don't think Jordi Alba is going to pack the seats like Messi did.
No, he won't.
If he starts getting haircuts outside of the house.
But yeah, so I don't know, interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. It is an interesting experiment with
Yeah.
Miami.
We'll just have to see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, moving on. Union will be back home this weekend as we welcome Orlando to Philly.
Currently, Orlando has more goals scored than any other team in MLS.
Wow.
Yeah. Could be a high scoring event, or maybe the Union just, remember that they've got Blake in net and let's make the shots not easy and the Union just, get another clean sheet. But who knows?
We'll be there in 48 degrees in the rain.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we should apologize to everybody. It feels like we only go to the games that are cold or we bring the cold. So
Yeah. So if you're
sorry,
coming out,
everybody.
let us know.
Yeah. We'll meet you under the stand somewhere warming up.
Just be Ian, Ian and me this time. But I do think we can bring blankets in. If anybody
Yeah.
knows the official story, because I have had to have it out with security folks there for unclear signage before they started being a little more specific about it. But it looks like you can bring blankets in. If
Yeah.
anybody has the official skinny on that, please let me know.
So Orlando coming in. What's their record here? They're in seventh place. 3 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw. Union, we're still in second place, so nothing to shake a stick at. But what was it? We're tied with Columbus, right? And it's coming down to the razor thin.
We got 4 wins. Columbus has 3 and 3 draws.
Okay. So
Columbus is the only team that without a loss yet this season.
Hmm.
That didn't work so well for the Union last year. Let's see how Columbus does.
Yeah.
So I will remind you guys that our first game and win of the season was against Orlando. So there is that.
Last year?
This year.
Oh, this year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. Yeah.
4-2.
Yep.
So so this time we are at home. This time it will be at least as of our recording cold. So be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see if Wagner is back. I'm going to guess no. to be
Mm-hmm.
totally honest. Abdomen sounds like a longer thing,
Yeah,
but
it
who
feels
knows
like
what
more
that could
than
mean. A
a
lot of
week.
things, I'm sure. Yeah. So,
Well, I mean, while we're here, and Chrissy, you can keep going. What do you
yeah.
guys hope to see in this game?
Baribo score.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to see Baribo get back on the front foot, get another goal. He's still top of MLS with 6 goals. Nobody caught up with him while he was unavailable while he was away with the Israeli national team. And despite the fact that he didn't score in Miami,
Yeah.
he's still, I would love to see him get it on back on the front foot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to see him start with a new partner instead of Aura. I'd love to see Damiani partner with him to start.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be interesting because this will be our first repeat opponent of the season.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know that we're that known a quantity even to ourselves at this point. It's not like we're running diamonds
Yeah.
every time and making subs in the 60th minute, but be interesting to see if having played us before seems to reap have any benefits for
Mhm.
Orlando. But obviously hoping for the win here. Less I mean any given match day, but
Mhm.
but a little less intimidated than,
Yeah.
against Miami.
Yeah.
I don't like their
So,
chances for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, like you said, we've already beat them once at their place this
Right.
season, and now we're back home and wanting to
Yeah.
start turning things around a little bit. Yeah, I would. I like our chances. Yeah, I agree.
Well,
I'd like to see Baribo score. I like to see Westfield keep playing the way he's playing.
mhm.
I really enjoyed him in the Miami game. He seemed very undaunted given the environment and the people he was playing with. So that was really fun to watch.
Yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
I'm hoping for the win. I'm hoping for the win. I think that would be a big check mark in the Carnell experiment.
Mhm.
Uh,
Absolutely. And it's certainly doable.
hmm
No slight to Orlando. I mean, they're 3-2-1.
hmm
They're doing fine this season, but playing away is always hard. And feels like the Union are going to be looking to make a statement, and hopefully this will be a nice weather situation. So, the Union will show up, and fans will be there and loud, and power the team to a win.
Yeah, maybe a little cold, but
We'll see.
we'll see.
We'll see. Okay.
Well, another Union news. I guess Quinn set a record
Right? Yeah, milestone at the very least.
or
Yeah, he
milestone. Yeah,
became the first homegrown to reach 100 MLS appearances for the Union.
yeah.
Very cool.
So,
Congrats. And I heard it
absolutely.
was 2 days after he turned 21 years old, so
God
he
help
was
us.
allowed to go out in Philly and drink if he
Man.
wanted to celebrate. Congrats, Quinn.
Oh man.
But no, I mean, hey, good for Quinn. He's starting to turn into a bit of a veteran player for our team.
Honestly, he
Yeah,
really is. Yeah.
it's,
It's funny how fast he went from like new guy to veteran.
yeah, yeah,
Really. I guess not that fast if he's made 100 appearances, but it feels fast.
yeah.
I think he's
So,
been playing for the team for 4 years.
Man,
yeah, it's remarkable, isn't it? It's
They-
remarkable.
they grow up so fast.
You know,
You know,
thank
That's
God we stay
crazy.
the same age.
yeah, right. I feel like we're gonna blink, and next thing we'll be talking about Kevin Sullivan getting on the Ring of Honor.
Just as a bit of club news, the FIFA World Cup or Club World Cup is being played in the U.S. this year, this summer. Starts in June, runs through end of July or middle of July, with final in New York or New Jersey, I should say. And apparently, Club Leon has been disqualified from the tournament because they are owned by Grupo Pachuca, which
hmm
also owns CF Pachuca, which is
hmm
also in the tournament.
hmm
So there's rumors swirling around what FIFA is going to do to replace Club Leon. Technically, the Union are ranked fourth in CONCACAF, I'm not sure how that ranking was set up, but that is the current rankings. By current rankings, the Union are fourth. So they should be one of the teams at least considered
Hmm.
for this spot. But there's also rumors that FIFA is considering having a playoff between LAFC and Club America. Then there's also problems that both the U.S. and Mexico already have two teams in the tournament. So technically, by their rules, they shouldn't be allowed a third team, which would make it a team, I believe, from Costa Rica. So there's lots of possibilities that could happen as to who's going to the Club World Cup. Does FIFA decide, well, let's just put it up between two really big clubs like LAFC and Club America and make them play in a playoff? Do they go by their rules and let the Union be that last member, or do they decide to follow the tournament rules and let this club from Costa Rica actually participate?
Nah.
There's options. There's definitely going to be more discussion. Plus, not to mention, Leon is appealing the decision to disqualify them. So it's not settled, but there actually is a possibility that the Union could play in the first World Cup format style of the FIFA Club World Cup.
Wow.
Because the FIFA Club World Cup has existed for a number of
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
but it was always like a single elimination tournament. Now it's actually going to be in a World Cup style, meaning all 32 teams that qualify for it are going to one host country. This year it's the U.S. because the U.S. is one of the few countries who can host a tournament like this at the drop of a hat. And Philadelphia was actually selected to be one of the host cities, and there's 8 cities hosting games this year. 5 of them are slated to host the World Cup next year. And for any local listeners that are interested in volunteering for the Club World Cup and helping run the games, they are still looking for volunteer help. You can certainly do a search for FIFA Club World Cup volunteer, and you can find a way to get in. And yeah, maybe I'll see you down there because there's an outside chance I'm going to make it. And they're definitely still looking. So yeah, it could be the Union would actually be able to. I don't think Leon was scheduled to play any games in Philly, but that's not to say that they couldn't shift because Leon was in one of the groups that is playing games in Philly.
Should we be surprised if we find out that they just give Miami a second spot and they have
No, just Messi.
just Messi? Yeah.
Messi's just gonna fight everybody.
Yeah.
Play everybody, not fight everybody. Sorry, your boxing metaphors are rubbing me.
Well, hey, right until something is a final ruling comes in, we can dream, right?
I didn't hear no bell.
I
How is the Union fourth? That's what I'm trying to figure out. That's
It had to do
interesting
with their
calculus.
standings and their performances in league play, in tournament
Oh.
plays, and it's over the last few years.
Okay.
And how many of your players are on a commercial saying "greatest of all toilets"? I think that's also one
Oh
of the.
my God, I forgot about that.
It
Yeah,
All right, that's a reference that went over my head.
was it was on TV.
It was
a
on-
Home Depot or
yeah.
something like that.
it was a
And,
Home Depot commercial, and there's a couple looking for toilets at the
and
Home
there's a bunch of
Depot.
MLS players there to help them.
And-
They're like, all right, huddle
Well, they're
up,
looking all
everybody.
confused, and what
Yeah.
should we get? And it's like, hey, huddle, all of a sudden, 4 players come out, all huddle up, and
Jordan Morris was one of them.
Jordan Morris was one. I don't remember who the other 2
Yeah.
were, but the 4th one was our own beloved Ali Bedoya.
Yeah.
So they coach them and say, yeah, come on, you can do this. And they pick their toilet and go walking away. And Allie just says, heck, greatest of all toilets.
Right? Or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, it's funny because he looks like he's trying to like fulfill his contractual obligation, but he also knows like how absurd what he's saying is.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, we were just like, wait, hold, you gotta rewind that because what just happened? Yeah.
Oh my God.
Which
Yeah.
is kind of awesome. It's kind of awesome.
His hair looks amazing in that commercial, I have to say.
No, Paul, I wanted to ask you though. So you were down. Do you want to take a few minutes and talk about the tryouts for being a volunteer, or is it not worth talking about?
Yeah, I mean, so I submitted my application to be a volunteer for the Club World Cup a couple months back. Um, it's not a particularly onerous process, but you do have to, fill in a bunch of forms. You have to submit a bunch of things. You have to, I think I had to submit a picture of my driver's license. I had, fill in an online profile. Had to submit which functional areas I wanted to help out with, etc. And then I didn't hear anything for a while. And a couple weeks back, I got notice that I was invited to a volunteer tryout. Apparently, they had 4 sessions over the weekend in Philadelphia, down in the Kimmel Center area. And so I went down there, not really knowing what to expect. And there was a bunch of FIFA volunteer coordinators that ran a training session that kind of gave us an overview of the Club World Cup, what it's going to look like, what's going to be involved, where Philly stands within that tournament, the expectations around volunteers. They actually gave us a preview of the volunteer uniform, which was pretty cool.
What's it look like?
I can't tell you.
Okay.
They actually told
Ooh.
us, no, don't tell anybody. Don't
All
take
right, all right.
pictures. Please don't. And as Emma, who's the main volunteer coordinator for Philly, said, I'm from Philly. If I see you take your cameras out, I will come say something to you. And so, yeah, so it was a good time. It was, she did it playfully, but, forcefully. So yeah, it's.
So no exclusive here with our podcast. All right.
No, I don't.
That's fine.
I don't want to.
Doesn't
I don't
wanna
want to
hurt his
ruin my
chances.
chances.
Yeah.
No, I gotcha.
But no, it was really good. I got to meet a bunch of the volunteers that are down there. As you can imagine, they're all very gregarious and outgoing. And it was really neat to get a little inside look at what they're trying to do, because they need something like 9,000 volunteers across the 8 sections there's 8 cities that are hosting. They had 50,000 applications.
Wow.
And so, there was probably around 200 or so people in our session. Figure at least 800 of them got called down for tryouts. And then they expect attrition through the next couple of months.
Mhm.
So that's why they're still looking to get more volunteers in. So definitely, if you're interested, take a look at it. Yeah, it was really good to get to meet people, because there was a gentleman from Australia by way of New York, meaning he had a pretty good Australian accent, and he was definitely rooting for the one Australian team that's in the Club World Cup. There was also a woman from Miami, who was up helping run this training session, and then there was the woman who's going to be doing who's going to be overall managing the volunteers for Philadelphia, was there as well. And then they actually had some volunteers, I guess, who have worked in the past at games in Philadelphia, and they were helping organize the training sessions down there for the weekend. So, yeah, it was really neat.
That's my question. So, yeah, so it's a volunteer tryout. So, like,
there was no
you
actual
delivering
tryout
Cokes through a serpentine of orange cones, or like what kind of activities did they have you do?
No volunteer drills and skills events.
Okay.
They called it a tryout, but it was more of an information session for those who
Okay.
were selected. They pretty much said anybody who made it, who was invited to this, will probably and showed up for the session, will either be picked to be a volunteer or to be an alternate. And
Okay.
it all depends on what your skills are, what functional areas you were interested in, where they thought they could use you. And so we're supposed to get job offers at the end of April, beginning of May,
Okay.
which would then follow up with training in whatever functional area that you were getting. If you are, and most of the volunteer work is going to be happening down at the link.
Nice.
And as Emma said, this will be one of the very few times that the link will be reskinned. So you won't see the Eagles stuff all over the place. You'll actually see FIFA Club World Cup.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's really cool. So we'll have to keep dibs on your progress here and
Yeah,
report in. So hopefully in about a month's time, roughly, you should hopefully hear something.
roughly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Hey, well, our listeners, right? Sign up. You go hang out with Paul down in Philly at a FIFA
Love
event.
to meet you.
Yeah, cool. Real quick, just some other big news that just kind of
Yep.
hit the internets
Yeah.
today. I did not see this coming. Sporting Kansas City and Peter Vermes have parted ways. I know
Wow.
when Curtin was still with the Union, we talked about the rarity of coaches having long tenures, and kind of besides Curtin, the other one was Peter Vermes, who definitely had even more years in his
Oh,
tenure than Curtin did. So,
Mhm.
I'm just looking at Kansas City's record. They're
Yeah.
0-5
well,
and 1.
It's
yeah,
brutal. It's brutal.
it's
Yeah.
bad. It's bad.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I had no idea things were that, but I think they were
Mm-mm.
just last in the whole league. And yeah, Peter Vermees. So
Yeah.
20 years with the club, 17
Wow.
years as the head coach.
Holy smokes.
And um,
And as one last time, MLS is Dennis Quaid.
exactly.
Hats
Um,
off.
having seen that, just without knowing really much more than the kind of the sound bites of what's been posted, it's kind of like, hey, at least Curtin got to finish the season. At least
Yeah.
he went out losing
Yeah.
in a playoff game. Um, this is five horrible games into the season, and
Six,
your
but still.
stalwart, skipper is then just, do
Yeah.
you want to walk out? You want to be thrown out? I'm sure. I
Mm.
don't know, but
Well, I almost wonder if they took him after at the end of last season. They're like, Peter, we'll give you one more shot. We feel like we owe you that. You've been with us for this long, but it's a very short leash. You either
mm,
have to get the guys on board and make something happen.
yeah,
You're going to have this offseason to make your moves that you need, and then you're going to have to hit the ground running. Otherwise, we will let you go. And it looks like he just didn't make, they didn't respond to what he wants them to do, and or maybe it's time for them to move on.
yeah,
It's 20 years is a tremendous run.
yeah,
He's won a couple of trophies for them, and he'll be a legend there in Kansas City for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I hopefully gets the proper memorializing. I'm not sure what the right word is, but honoring, I guess, with the club.
No, that's it. I'm sure he'll go find some other
Yeah,
jobs. He'll go coaching somewhere else. Man, he's
yeah,
got too much experience.
yeah.
Apparently, Sporting KC's fan group wrote a letter calling for his resignation.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
Ouch.
This is according to oh, I don't know, I think it's a local news outlet, says that there was a decrease in fan support with attendance waning due to the team's lack of success.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, is I always not paying as much attention to the Western Conference unless I
Yeah,
have to. I still have it in my head that they're always a
yeah.
strong-ish team, pretty
Hmm.
solid. I'm back in the old days. I know when they had some different folks on the team, but
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
like Jim said last week, he was thinking that St. Louis was going to have to carry Kansas City into the playoffs just
true,
so they could beat them there.
true.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I agree, Chrissy. I didn't look at the standings. I didn't realize how bad it was for them.
Wow.
Mm-mm. No, I
They've
just looked while we were talking.
2024, they finished second from last in the Western Conference.
Hmm.
2023, and not too bad. They made it into the playoffs. Um, and I think actually they knocked St. Louis out,
That's
right?
right. That was yeah.
I
But
think they,
Kansas City, like St. Louis, is very much a sports town.
yeah,
Like, so when you're losing support in a place like that, at least for what very little I know
yeah,
of it from the interactions I've had with folks there,
Yeah.
And you know, like we often say when they show places around the world, you know, like
Oh yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know, they'll show like a square in Warsaw for Poland or something. You know what I mean? Like I just
Mhm.
pick a city. Whatever reason, one of the
For
places they often
US.
show is in the US is Kansas City.
Yeah.
It's not always the only one, but there is a lot of soccer support there as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, it's like the
So,
capital. I mean, it's like
Hmm.
the Midwest location for the U.S. national team. There's lots of training facilities there in Kansas City.
hmm
It's a big soccer town.
Yeah.
hmm
Well, hey, good luck to Peter Vermes. I'm sure he'll
yeah.
land on his feet somewhere. Actually,
hmm
I gotta imagine he's gonna take some well-deserved time off. Um,
hmm
he and Jim Curtin are gonna just be hanging out somewhere for a while. Um, but
They'll go
yeah.
watch some Royals and Phillies games for a while.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
No.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, if you want to join in on the conversation, you can reach us at our website, amorephillyunion.com. Send us your thoughts and questions via email or on socials. Instagram's a good one to get a hold of us. But you can email us at pod@amorephillyunion.com. On our socials, Instagram, YouTube, Threads, Blue Sky, we are a More Philly Union. Want to listen to some tunes? We have a Spotify playlist that goes with all of our weekly postings. It's quite interesting. So you can find it on Spotify under a More Philly Union. Just look for the little music notes.
Interesting
Download.
in the good way, not in the bad way.
It's very eclectic. That's the word we have here in our notes. But um, yeah, it's like a really interesting smorgasbord kind of I don't know, cheese board. I don't know. It's like when you mix
Charcuterie
charcuterie, that's the word. You get your salami, you have your cheese, but wait, why is there honey over here? Or
and a mustard.
yeah, mustard. Is that fruit? What's going on? It's like, but it all works. So anyway, yeah, download and subscribe to our podcast wherever you get yours. And while you're at it, go show some love to one of our favorite forces for good in the world, in the Unionverse, and that is the Philadelphia Union Foundation. You can check them out at philadelphiaunionfoundation.org. So thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode of A More Philly Union. We are your hosts. I'm E.
I'm C.
I'm Paul.
Go
Go
Union!
Union. Barbecue sauce.
I
Just because we were talking about Kansas City.
know,
Exactly.
actually.
That's a Ted Lasso reference too.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
true.
It all comes together.